Hello and welcome to the Coronavirus Lockdown Livestream, the show that brings welcome levity to the end of the world, lifting the spirits of many of you currently in self-isolation by infecting as many as possible with comfort and distraction as the apocalypse unfolds. The 30 of you now watching on the live stream will be aware of my hilarious cock-up in which I attempted to launch into the show without having my microphone properly calibrated at this end. But fortunately, the YouTube audience will be spared that because I can download the live stream and snip off the beginning. But apologies to everyone who had to put up with me prattling on and not hearing what I was saying. You will now hear my introduction, which is that I won't be beginning with a reading of Bill Bryson's The Body because I finished the chapter that I wanted to read. It has nothing to do with the fact that some of you were commenting and saying that you were mildly traumatized by learning all about viruses. But I would be interested in knowing, for those of you who are following along, what book you would like me to read, because I think it's a good way of starting the show. It's just a relaxing way of easing into the 90 minutes of the lockdown live stream. And it also, hopefully it's a relaxing thing for people to listen to. I have been known to send people to sleep with my voice. And it also allows the green room to steadily fill so that I can unleash my guests on you all once I have finished my reading. The green room currently is completely empty. So we're waiting for JW Survey team members and Arthur to file in. Let me scroll to the part of the comments where, yeah, so Jenny here saying, I was panicking. I thought it was just me with no audio. No, it was all my fault. You can blame me. Let's just see here. I thought it was just me and my sound card died. Eric Larsen, yay, that's better. Oh no, can't hear anything. There seems to be confusion between the viewers. Okay, so is it Jose Raiden or Jose Raiden? This is a good time for the live stream. Florida, thanks. Yes, we are shaking up the lockdown live stream schedule. It used to be at a time that was very difficult for Americans and Canadians to tune in, but we fixed that now. Monica is happy that she'll soon be able to see this live. Well, hopefully you're watching it as I read these comments. Let's just see here. The Higher Revolutionary, same, great time for Cali. Ramona Moon, yay, I finally made it. Thanks for changing the time. Gabrielle Spedding says, working fine now. How are you? Good question, Gabrielle. Since I'm not prattling on with reading The Body, those of you who follow me on Twitter will know that I am properly under, how can I put this without being too dramatic? YouTube is really giving me a hard time at the moment. I'm not going to lie. So I've for a while now, it's been the case that whenever I upload a new video, almost within a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, the monetization status goes from green to yellow. So that it starts off being monetized and almost immediately it goes to limited. And limited means that you get peanuts. You really get very, very little. And obviously, when you're a professional activist, you know, you count on your Google ad revenue. It would be, in an ideal world, everyone would be able to do work like the work I do completely for free, completely pro bono. It's just realistically, when you have a family and 2 small children, there's literally no way of doing what I do to the degree I'm doing it without doing it professionally anyway. So for a while now, YouTube has been limiting the ads on a number of videos, not all of them, but a number of them, and especially if it's anything to do with child sex abuse. And I think that is morally very dubious to do that. I can understand, obviously, if it's a video that promotes child sex abuse. Well, that shouldn't be allowed on YouTube, full stop. Never mind demonetization. But how on earth are you going to hold abusive groups to account if you're disincentivizing people from creating content that does that? So it's morally very ethical it's ethically very dubious for YouTube to be going down that road. But they went through a whole new level of craziness with the coronavirus thing, so that the first coronavirus video that I made regarding Jehovah's Witnesses ended up being my most watched video of the year so far. So out of all the videos I've made in 2020, the first video I made got 50,000 views. 50,000 views. And it made $12, which is in ad revenue terms is catastrophic. So that was infuriating. The second video that I made, YouTube demonetized it, and I appealed, and they let it go back up. But they wouldn't retroactively do the same thing with my first coronavirus video. And then the very latest video that I made, which has absolutely nothing remotely controversial in it, they demonetized it, at least to begin with. And I appealed it, and thankfully it looks like they are allowing it to be monetized. But when you're at the stage where you can't even announce that conventions have been cancelled without YouTube threatening to basically strip you of your revenue, it's just getting a bit silly. And it was only through kind of investigating how far this rabbit hole goes that I realized that my most popular video, Everything You Need to Know About Jehovah's Witnesses in 5 Minutes, has not just been demonetized, because they don't email you, they don't notify you to let you know, they just let you find out. And I can only keep tabs on the most recent uploads. I can't keep tabs on videos that I made back in early 2018. I found out that it's been demonetized ever since the 31st of August 2019. So I've lost months worth. And when I appealed it, after a manual review, they said, no, it's not suitable for advertisers, even though there is nothing controversial. Yes, it does mention child abuse, but only very fleetingly and only repeating what's been in the news. And at the end, it encourages people to be kind to Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's apparently not suitable for advertisers. Anyway, 1.1 million views, that video. So it's very infuriating to be working hard. And last month in March, I made double the number of videos I normally make, and actually made less in ad revenue than the previous month. So it feels like I'm wading through treacle somewhat, and it's very infuriating. But you did ask, how are you? But I've got ideas as to what I'm going to do. Actually, I think this is a widespread problem affecting not just me, affecting lots of other creators, and I'm interested in exploring it more in perhaps a documentary series. So watch this space. Dante's Inferno, is that a book recommendation? Deborah DeGostin says, good morning from Sacramento, California. And before I read any more comments, let's bring in Kimberly O'Donnell.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kimmy. Thanks so much for joining me.
No problem.
I've been all on my lonesome trying to entertain 78 people with tales of woe over demonetization. So thank you for relieving everybody of this dreariness.
It's going to be exciting now.
Do you have any cats to show us? Because YouTube is big on cats these days.
I'll have to grab one. She's outside my
you could just randomly grab a cat, any kind of cat,
She's crying at the door right now.
Yeah, I was going to say dead or alive, but alive would probably be better. And that will probably make me demonetization proof because I'll have a cat in the video. So let's just see the cat.
Here she is.
There we go. And what's her name?
This is Booties.
Sorry, Booty?
Yeah, it's Boots, but we call her Booties.
Oh, okay. And is this the same Booty that we have in the Watch Time Focus videos?
Probably. There was an episode where she smacked Charlie in the head a few times on camera in the background.
So a bit of a violent streak, you might say.
Yeah, she's funny.
Not unlike Mark at times when he gets really riled.
Yeah, Mark is he's such a violent man and
oh dear.
Just kidding.
Okay, so let me see what more comments we've had coming through. Win Zukon says, how about a reading of selected excerpts from chapter 4 of God is Not Great? Chapter 4. I have that on my book to hand. Can't reach it. What's chapter 4? I'm fascinated now to find out what chapter 4 is. A note on health, to which religion can be hazardous. Okay, so it's still sort of health, body related. Interesting recommendation there, Win. Thank you. Michael Young says, good morning, Lloyd and everyone. David Morgan says, sorry to hear about your monetization issues with YouTube. They clearly don't care about their creators, and no clear communication makes it even worse. Where I am in a position to do so, I will help out on Patreon. Thank you so much, David. And that's been one of the really amazing things is patrons stepping forward. And I guess to a degree, what's really kind of rattled me is that if there's ever been a time where patrons need YouTube to step up and ease the pressure on them, it's been in a global pandemic that's robbing people of the ability to help creators. And for YouTube to be, if anything, doubling down during the pandemic, it just doesn't sit right at all. Let's just see here. Yeah, Eric Larsen saying, your work is so important. Spread the word on Lloyd's Patreon. If he gets enough patrons, then he won't need to worry so much about demonetization from YouTube. Yeah, thanks so much, Eric. Louise Reynolds says, any idea what song Arthur is going to unleash on us today? I don't know. I do know that he was working on this last night, and he said, do you want to read my lyrics, Lloyd? And I said, no. So it's something that's he's been planning, but curiously, I've checked the WhatsApp, and he says in 10 minutes. So he seems to be running late. So not sure how I feel about his tardiness, but there we go.
Are you going to dock his pay?
I think so. I think yeah, I'll halve it at least.
Yeah, I hope the demonetization doesn't affect my revenue today.
Yours is safe. Yours will run at exactly the same level as before, Kimmy. Gabrielle Spedding says, Lloyd, do you have a poem for us today? Roses are red, violets are blue. YouTube demonetization, I hate you. Melissa says, LOL, was surprised to see you just started a stream during daytime here, no less. 80 narrator from Florida, from Twitch, on Twitch, sorry, is saying hello from Florida. And Eric Larsen says, the only downside is no Sasha's poetry corner today. Yes, Sasha is probably tucked up in bed as we speak, unless Kimmy wants to fill in the void with a poem.
Yeah, I'm going to give it some thought.
Yeah,
and I'm going to get back. I wanted to write a limerick, and I'll do it shortly. And
okay, maybe once Arthur joins, and yeah, okay.
And I hope Arthur's going to give us words so we can sing along.
Well, it's a little bit cheeky with Arthur because it's supposed to be a sing-along, but last time he made us just literally play a recording for which there was no lyrics. So it was more, but I kind of let him off the hook because the first episode of Sing Along with Arthur was, shall we say, divisive. And I wanted to give him the opportunity to show what he could do. So I'm interested to see whether today he tries to pull the same stunt or gives us an actual karaoke that we can all sing
This
along
redemption.
with. Yeah. Gabrielle is watching from sunny Montreal. +10 today. I've seen Montreal's airport, but not much beyond that, I'm afraid. Jay Proctor says, can the audio go out if Spiro starts singing Kingdom songs? I don't think it was Spiro. I think it was it Spiro? Spiro appeared in 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think it might have been Spiro.
Really? Did Spiro sing a Kingdom song? Shame on him.
It was 3:30 in the morning my time, so I was half asleep.
Dark days are here. Man lives in fear. With dire expectation, as do all creation.
That's my last trigger. Is the stupid songs.
Right.
Not you singing them, but actually hearing them. Like if I hear them.
Yeah. It's disturbing how those lyrics. I mean, I go to zero effort to remember the words. It's not like I practice them every morning, but they're in my head, and I think I have better uses for that space inside my internal memory than remembering those words. But they're basically scorched into my synapses. It's very irritating.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing is I'll know I'm fully deprogrammed when I can go into, say, an office supply store. Like I saw a nice attaché or portfolio bag. Very first response was, that would be great for field service. That was just last month.
Sure. I had a gorgeous field service bag that was actually tailor-made.
Wow.
There was a brother who made it his job to, and this wasn't like ministry ideas or whatever it is, ideas with a Z. This was literally like a local brother who would take leather and sculpt it into these ministry bags, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And I had it for years until I got my car broken into and someone nicked it. But yeah, you've sent me back down memory lane there, Kimmy. Brandon says, it's like they were cut into our brains like a groove on a vinyl record. Hopefully they fade like folks after COVID. When you say fade, do you mean fade as in the COVID goes or the people die of COVID? I think clarification on that would be welcome, Brandon. And we're joined, his ears burning fiercely, by Arthur Weber. So Arthur.
Hello, hi Kimmy.
Hi Arthur. I think the viewers may like to know that my maiden name is Weber. So Arthur and I, we are distantly related, we like to think.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Brothers from another mother.
Brothers?
One with 2 B's, one with 1 B. Am I right?
No, they're both.
Both with 1 B.
Gosh.
Yeah, Arthur's friends with my dad and my brother on Facebook now too. It's a big family.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a common ancestor down up the Weber tree.
Who knows?
You never know.
Who knows?
Well, my line's from Austria, so German, but Austria heritage.
Well, Austria is a lot closer to Romania than Maryland.
Than Maryland, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Arthur, I was telling everyone about, with startling candor, about your little trick that you pulled, where instead of making it karaoke, a sing-along with Arthur, it was just you playing an MP3. So the file that you have to share with me this time, is it karaoke or is it another MP3?
It's karaoke on YouTube. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm impressed. We're going back to the heart of the show, which is to properly sing along with Arthur, which I think is what the whole reason why 77 are currently watching, quite frankly, is because word has circulated throughout Facebook and Twitch that this is the show for those who want to be able to sing along with a musical genius. So have you WhatsApp me the link?
No. But we have to wait a couple of minutes till I get to my computer, because right now I'm not.
You see, you're just needlessly adding to the suspense, aren't you?
Yes, of course, because this weekend I prepared a special feature. A special feature
grief.
because and I
Arthur,
want everybody
I
to
just
stay
have one
tuned.
question. I have one question. Will you remain
Yes.
clothed throughout the video?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Definitely.
But just when you say special feature, lots of ideas coming to mind.
Yeah. So because it's a Saturday, we're in the weekend. I want to make it really special because I prepared a song based on a public talk delivered by Brother John Fogerty in 1969 at the Special District Assembly of Jehovah's Witnesses.
You know a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses for someone who's never been one, don't you?
and it's a song, that triggers us, and it builds credence into a prophecy in Revelation when you have that clear water.
Unfortunately, we've lost Arthur's audio mid-sentence.
I really want to give some clues to the viewers. So it builds credence into the prophecy in Revelation regarding that clear water streaming from the throne of God and the Lamb, which causes a revival, spiritually and physically as well.
Thank you for that. Stay tuned. Excellent. So we've had a comment from Brandon just clarifying fade as in the XJW nomenclature, not fade as in die. And a lovely comment on Twitch for Kimmy, JTL Graziano, saying, good morning, Kimberly. You and Mark's Atlantic article last year is what jolted my husband. I think I awake. We are forever grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Lloyd, for accommodating the US group today.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. I'm glad it helped.
Indeed. The article actually went out on the day that Julia was born. So it's easy for me to remember both dates.
Yeah. Hard to believe it's a year.
Yeah. Paul Mijeski says people who fail to wear a face mask or scarf outdoors in Laredo, Texas, could get fined $1,000. Wow. So if you're in Laredo, Texas, make sure you wear a face mask or scarf if you venture outside. Let's just see here. Dylan Bain says, I have taught most of my close friends the chorus of Listen, Obey, and Be Blessed. Absolute classic JW bop. Are you able to just fill in the viewers, Arthur, on how that song goes?
Oh, no. Unfortunately, I don't remember the exact lyrics. It's song number 120 in the old songbooks.
But you can remember the song number, but you can't remember how it goes.
Yes.
Interesting insight into how your mind works there. Gabrielle Spedding says, Lloyd, can I send you some Canadian food and toilet paper? If we have plenty here. We've probably got more toilet paper than you, Gabrielle, but I will never say no to Canadian food.
Now, as for toilet paper, so I ordered takeout last night from a pizza place. They bring it to the curb, to your car. And if you spend $35, they gave you a special gift, which is a free roll of toilet paper.
Excellent. Yeah.
Marketing geniuses.
I think that should come with toilet paper, with pizza anyway, if it's a spicy pizza. I think, a little bit of help might be appreciated, depending on the spice level. Simon Instone says, in front of Lloyd Evans we sit to learn about this cult a bit. We're all entertained, though some a bit maimed. I'm sorry this poem is rubbish. It's not a bad attempt, that, Simon. I'll give you, let's see, marks out of 10. I'm going to go for a 7. It's a solid 7, that. So there we go. Misha Erla Barrett says, I don't miss field service at all. It was the hardest thing for me. Yeah, definitely. Do you sometimes have like dreams where you're like, oh, I'm behind with my hours? I haven't been on preaching for weeks now, and I'm going to be really, really behind. Do you ever have that, Kimmy?
Actually, I had a weird dream last night, so that is kind of funny you said that. I was thinking, about having to do all this letter writing. I was dreaming that I was doing this, that my hands were cramping from all this letter writing I had to do. And I haven't had a dream about that, probably in a year, but it was funny that you brought that up.
Indeed. Exec Sesh says, Arthur, you're a better witness than I ever was. What we need to find out is whether Arthur is a better singer than you ever were. Arthur, are we any closer to doing Sing Along with Arthur?
Yes, of course we are.
Excellent. So if I check WhatsApp, still no link.
No link because now I'm not at home.
You're not at home.
I'm not at home. I'm joined via my phone, and I'm trying to somehow to remotely access my computer at home.
Is this a special surprise? Is it going to be a duet?
No, it's not a duet, unfortunately, because it's unprepared that I'm not alone in the room where I am.
Okay.
So she doesn't want to. Do you want to sing along? No, she doesn't.
Arthur's at his girlfriend's house, I think. Bit embarrassing.
So, and I also don't have the lyrics with me. Shocking
lack of preparedness, considering that I know you were working on the lyrics last night.
Yeah, and they're lovely, and I'm sure everybody wants to hear.
We'll be the judge of that, Arthur. We'll be the judge of whether the lyrics are lovely. Let's just see. Latasha Brown says, Arthur triggers me, and I am not, nor have I ever been, a JW, LOL. So there you go. You're even triggering fellow non-JWs. It's quite some achievement, that, really, if you think about it. Update on Rian. My son is doing great. I miss him to bits, but he's recovering quite well. So Rian's son in Liverpool, recently discharged from hospital, finally out of that environment and recovering at his home. So that's really nice to hear.
We're so happy for Robin.
Indeed. And Rianne also says that she's cooking dinner, so not much time to comment on stuff, but I want you to know I'm present. Duly noted. Brandon Fiquette, I don't know why his finger would be on the mute button. Whether he's referring to a forthcoming segment or not, I don't know. Julia says, good afternoon. I hope you're all well. Sun is shining here in Blighty. Nice to hear it. Wasn't there some kind of warning or something? I just noticed briefly that there's been some advice saying just because... Oh, yeah, that's it. It was the Mayor of London on Twitter saying just because the weather's really nice, don't be tempted to, go outside and spread the virus. So, yeah, that's the thing. When there's nice weather, it's actually really nice weather here as well. And when the sun's shining, there's just that added temptation to, test your boundaries somewhat. Gabrielle, Lloyd, I would love to send you toilet paper and stuff, but I don't have your address. LOL. Tempting though it would be to reveal my address on a live stream that will be seen by thousands of people, I'll resist that temptation, Gabrielle. And I really do not need toilet paper. But if you do have something you'd like to send me, then probably the JW survey email would be the best way to reach me. Paul Majeski says production of Corona beer is being temporarily suspended in Mexico because of the coronavirus pandemic. Well, there we go. Irony, you might say. Frank Rizzo saying Arthur triggers me too. So lots of people triggered by you, Arthur, it must be said. The question that is still on everyone's lips, however, is will we be having Sing Along with Arthur anytime soon?
Definitely.
Do I have a link in my WhatsApp? No.
Not yet, but I'm logging in. I'm logging into my computer.
Okay. Yeah, Gabrielle Spedding says, Arthur, stop talking and start singing. So yeah, there's a lot of anticipation on the lockdown live stream today for Arthur to rip forth with his vocal talents.
Can you please hold this moment? So yeah, connection successful. Hopefully I get my password right. Waiting for image.
Arthur's singing always brings a smile to my face, so bring it on.
Oh, I'm so glad for that. There it is. And let me get to YouTube. So it's called a oh my god. Don't this
Please don't feel pressured by 74 people watching your every move on Facebook.
And Twitch. Let's
not forget about the Twitchers out there who are sticking it to Zuckerberg as we speak.
Yeah, because as you all know, you can see us live on facebook.com/Lloyd Evans Cedars and on
Stop stalling for time, Arthur, and get me that link.
That's what I'm trying.
It's my job to stall for time, not yours. Demi Ryan says he's a big tease, isn't he? Come on, Arthur, sing, laugh out loud.
There she is.
Vicki Griffin says hello to everyone, especially my dear friend Kimmy. Does that name ring a bell, Kimmy?
It does. That's my friend. We grew up together. Vicki recently joined the woke crowd this last year.
Fantastic.
She's an amazing person, full of energy.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks so much.
We did a live stream for our Maryland meetup group last week, and let's just say Vicki had to have her camera off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was funny because she wasn't dressed.
Oh, dear.
It was funny, but we had about 8 people, so it was nice. And we're going to try and do it at least twice in April. We joined up with the Washington, D.C. Meetup group, and we had a little virtual meetup.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that went well. And Vicki, lovely to have you on today's lockdown live stream. Back to Arthur, because Eric says his singing is just around the corner. Is it, Arthur? That's the question on everyone's lips.
It is. I'm pasting the YouTube link directly to your WhatsApp.
I have it. I have said link.
You have it. Perfect. That's so awesome.
So now the pressure is on me to get it all set up. Right. Okay. Let me just get it to where the music actually starts. Oh, crikey. Right. Okay. Right. Well, while I'm doing all that,
let's get an intro.
Let's get that intro rolling. What are your vocal cords like, Arthur? Are they sufficiently warmed up?
Yes.
You don't need to do the kind of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do thing?
No.
Okay. Just checking. Just want to give you all the opportunity in the world to make sure that you're ready for...
Perfect.
Okay. So let's get this show on the road. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. I forgot to. There's a tiny little box that I forgot to check, and I need to check it first to allow the audio. Sorry about that, everyone. Let me try again.
My screen just.
Yeah. Bear with us. Share audio. Share.
And you don't need to share the Chrome tab because the lyrics are not even the original lyrics aren't spelled correctly in the video. But
Arthur, it's a sing along. People don't have to sing along with your lyrics. They can if they want to. Surely, sing along with the lyrics they know. Come on. And play.
Take a job in the city, working in the system every night and day. And I pursued my dream of serving down the battle. Undoubtedly that's the place where I wanna stay. But they just keep on turning. Watch towers keep on turning. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. Need a lot of toilets and assemblies. Pumped a lot of pain during maintenance. But I never found the lack of joy in service, 'cause I was always doing Jehovah's will. Pages keep on turning. Watchtowers keep on printing. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. All right. Thank you. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. If you get invited to battle, but you're gonna love all the brothers who there. You don't have to worry of rules and regulations. Glorify Jehovah in whatever you do. Pages keep on turning. Watch towers keep on printing. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. Rolling, rolling, rolling down the presses. All right.
That was. I don't even know how to describe that. Kimmy, thoughts?
I will give you a 7 for creativity, maybe a 7.5.
Yeah. I think for me, an emotional tsunami. Some very strong emotions were bubbling away below what might have appeared to be a stony-faced surface while that song was being sung. Yeah. Never mind what we think. Let's go to the comments. Eric Larsen says, indescribable. I think I would agree with you there. it defies description. Janet James especially appreciated the air guitar. Demi Ryan chastising myself and Kim for not joining in. I just didn't want to cramp his style, to be honest. Eric Larsen again saying Arthur plays that air instrument so well. Monica also agreeing. So far, lots of appreciation for the air guitar, it must be said, Arthur. Demi Ryan says, I'm dancing here. State of Gas, non-specific in saying you are awesome. I think we'll assume that that's Arthur.
It might be Lloyd as well, because Lloyd's an awesome host of the Coronavirus Live Stream.
Well, that's very kind, and because you've said that, I will let you come on future episodes. So, yeah, there's Vicki Wells says earth-shattering. So I don't know what you can get much more powerful a response than that. Julia Dasmin won't be forgetting this segment in a hurry. Jenny Smith says brilliant. Gabrielle giving you a solid 8.5 there.
Thank you very much.
Exec Sesh says Arthur has missed his calling. Bravo. So yeah,
it was infectious. I will say that.
Eric Larson says, how can YouTube demonetize this? Well, hopefully, Eric, we are already immunized from demonetization, because we did show a cat at the start of the show. This is officially a cat video, which is one of the things that YouTube wants to see. So
include that in the description.
Let me do some unboxing as well, because
hang on.
Yeah, let's do some unboxing here, because right. I have a surprise box with comments on the cedars1929@gmail.com email address, and they're blue.
So you've unboxed a box with comments?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to read any of them?
Original comments for our JW survey team.
Oh, okay. So we need to read them first, do we?
Yes. I will ship them. To Croatia, and you'll have the honor of reading them.
Now we do have some of you may remember that in the last lockdown live stream, I put a call out for video messages, and I have had such a response. Someone has sent in a video message. I just need to find it here we are. Right, so let me just get it up on the shared screen. Copy link. Bear with me one moment. Bear in mind, I do not have a producer at this stage in my career. But yeah, there's been quite enough woe is me so far. Let me see if I can get the screen share up. Here we go.
Hello, Lloyd. Hello, everyone there on the John Cedars channel stream today. I'm contacting you here from Nova Scotia, Canada. Currently there with the coronavirus situation. It hasn't been too bad thus far. We are starting to see the cases increase day by day. I think the health officials are saying we're about 2 to 3 weeks behind pretty much everyone in the world. So I hope you all are doing good and staying healthy there. I wanted to just send this video message as I was watching Lloyd's channel there on one of the videos he was doing about the coronavirus response that you can find on jw.org. I found it very interesting how Stephen Lett seemed to only address the brothers. He didn't address the sisters or the so-called young ones as well. He seemed to only concern himself with the men of the congregations. I found this very strange and odd. I know that I have heard them speak about brothers and sisters, and like I say, the young ones in the congregations in their videos, but during a pandemic, it seems that they only care about the men. One of the things that struck me as them being representative of a society is if my prime minister came out and Justin Trudeau addressed the nation and said something along the lines of, "We hope you men of Canada are doing well, and we hope that you can make it through this pandemic," I don't think that would go down very well. I also don't think it would go down even if someone as polarizing as Trump were to say that. So I found this very bizarre and very strange, and I think it just highlights just exactly how out of left field Jehovah's Witnesses are, and how almost extreme and just strange how they address them. How they address their 8 million followers as only concerned about the brothers. Just wondering if you guys can comment on that, and thank you so much for taking my question.
No problem at all, and thank you so much for that comment. So, I don't really know where to begin. I suppose, well, I guess I'm most interested in hearing your thoughts, Kimmy. My initial reaction would be that it's not really anything new, the whole them saying brothers rather than brothers and sisters, and probably it's more a problem from the Bible, with the Bible regularly saying brothers rather than brothers and sisters. But I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on that, Kimmy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that to me, it was always a generalization, and I never thought, like, why didn't they say brothers and sisters? So when they say brothers, I think they are referring to the entire organization. Now that we're out, it makes you say, hey, they really don't focus on the women as much. But I mean, my mother-in-law, my friends, they're women, they're sisters, and they're getting the same amount of concern, at least locally, than the men. I wouldn't say that, at least in my opinion, locally, that they're favoring one gender over another.
Yeah. I guess when it comes to criticizing the organization, you want your criticisms to be as rock solid as possible. And although it would be nice if they could be more inclusive when it comes to genders in their statements.
And I will say, if it's something official, like when they're writing these letters, we know that they're only going to say brothers because, the women aren't allowed to have any of those positions of responsibility.
Yeah, if you're dealing with gender inequality, it's really more. I would imagine it's more to do with the fact that women are to be seen and not heard, and they're not allowed to have any roles of authority or oversight or teaching. They're basically only allowed to do preaching or give comments at the meetings or give demonstrations on the platform.
Oh, and what's really silly is with this memorial stuff coming up, where they're going to be doing stuff in their homes. If there's no baptized brother, then the sister in the home can say the prayer, but she has to wear a head covering. So can you imagine, like, if it was just me, I would have to say my own prayer, pass the emblems to myself, but make sure I had a head covering on.
Wow. It is astonishing the nonsense they used to go up to with the memorial, isn't it?
The mental Olympics, right?
Indeed. Eric Larsen saying we can't be showing too much concern over the sisters. That's not biblical. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I'd have to check, but probably my concordance is just on the other side of the bunker. And if I were to look up brothers, I'd probably find a lot of verses where it says, brothers and not sisters. So I would imagine it's just basically it's just echoing that practice of how the Bible uses brothers rather than sisters. Yes, Spunky Gidget on Twitch saying brothers equals brethren. Let's just see here. Yeah, so, but we do appreciate that comment, certainly. And just a reminder that if you are interested in sending in a similar video comment, now that you've seen how easily we can play them flawlessly with or without a producer, the email address to send them to is cedars1929@gmail.com. So if you send me your video, preferably 2 to 3 minutes, as an unlisted YouTube video, and if you send me that link, I will play it in future lockdown live streams. Alternatively, if voicemails are your thing, this is the address to use: speakpipe.com/Cedars. So we look forward to receiving more of your comments in the future.
May I make a suggestion that if you're going to send a video message, try to include a cat?
Yeah, absolutely. Cat's essential. Cat's essential. So, yeah, we'd love to see more cats. And also, it will allow my channel to be more immune from demonetization.
By the way, Kimmy, have we seen your cat in this episode? We haven't.
We have seen one cat. She's sitting here on the bed. Let me grab her for you, Arthur.
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't here, Arthur. You were late. Just saying.
Oh,
Hey, hi.
so sweet.
She's
12.
I
think, Kimmy, can you just pose with the cat for the video thumbnail so that
definitely.
YouTube thinks that this is a cat video? That'd be lovely. Thank you. Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. So that's our thumbnail, and that will inoculate the channel against demonetization.
I think we found a fix. A workaround.
Indeed. Rianne saying, that's just sick. A head covering reacting to your story just then, Kimmy.
But really, Lloyd, I was so appalled by YouTube's decision about limited monetization.
Yeah, I was talking about it before, and it's one of those things where it's intensely frustrating, but I'm really trying not to, I'm not in the mood to make a YouTube video about it, because I frankly think people have got other things to be thinking about at the moment than one channel being squeezed by YouTube and Google. We're in the midst of a pandemic, for goodness sake. Yeah. It's just a shame.
I was also reading the advertisers' guidelines yesterday to be sure. Hey, what are they so concerned about? I mean, what is so inappropriate for them or for the advertiser?
I guess one of the most infuriating things is not just the lack of transparency, but the lack of communication. Because if they just email you and say, we have demonetized your video, then at least you could act within a certain time scale, and you'd at least be in the loop. But they demonetized that video, everything you need to know, back at the end of August, and I've only just found out about it now. So it's very infuriating. Back to what we were saying, Vicki Wells says, Bible is incredibly misogynistic. Islam always gets a rough ride theologically from a feminist perspective, but actually the Bible really is much more derogatory to women. I don't know what you think about this, Kimmy. I used to kind of joke a little bit about the verses in Corinthians because they were so outrageous, and whether it was just my attempt at humor, my kind of lack of belief finding expression through humor. But those verses where it's saying, I desire the women to be silent, and it's just astonishing that you can find those verses if you go looking for them,
It's weird to me, because I guess we're brainwashed and we're raised that way. It never, ever bothered me until after I left. I never gave it a second thought. But one funny thing is that my cousins, they were all raised Catholic and stuff, they came to the Kingdom Hall when Mark and I got married in '98. And I found out after I left that when they started reading the scriptures about how the wife would be submissive and all that kind of stuff, my cousins almost got up and walked out. They were like, yeah, what is she a part of? What in the world? They didn't, but for me, it was, I respected the Proverbs about a capable wife, but again, I think that problem comes back to the Bible and not just Jehovah's Witnesses.
I can vaguely remember as well a wedding at our Kingdom Hall, because obviously with weddings, you get people attending who aren't necessarily witnesses. And I can remember one wedding in particular. I can't remember who it was getting married or the year or anything like that. But I remember one person who was attending the wedding who wasn't a witness kind of loudly and audibly recoiling at a part in the talk where it was referring to the role of the woman as being subservient to the man and a compliment to the man. And she kind of loudly and audibly reacted to it. And yeah, it's thinking back on those memories, you think, how could I not put the pieces together back then? But I guess we all went along with it, didn't we? Even if we were women and even if we were suffering because of it, you know?
I will say it was funny in Pioneer School because we had, I'm sure any pioneers can relate, where they talked about head coverings and how they would have to go over what was appropriate and not appropriate. You know, don't put a baby diaper on your head, and or don't use a cloth, you know, just a paper napkin, a trash bag. I mean, I always carried a little scarf with me, but it was just kind of funny that they had to direct us as to, you know, what would be appropriate and inappropriate head coverings too.
I can't believe people needed to be told not to put a diaper on their heads. Mm-hmm. That's the first time I've heard of that.
But imagine that many fundamentalist Christian evangelical groups here in Romania, for example, the sisters always wear head coverings when they go to service. And I've seen them, for example, in the Romanian Baptist Church in LA. They also do that.
Eric Larsen throwing down a challenge for the trinity of acceptable video mediums. Nobody has put on makeup yet. I don't have any to hand, actually.
Should I get some?
If you feel like doing it, Kimmy. It would be interesting to see how many we can squeeze in.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
Okay.
Excellent. Could you just do like a tutorial thing as well?
Okay. Yep. So make sure that when you take your mascara out, you want to clean it off so it's not clumpy. Keep your eye open.
Yeah.
And then like blink on it a little, you know. There you go. And then you don't want to blink right away because you want it to dry.
You see, I would have blinked right away if you hadn't told me.
You don't want to smudge it.
Yeah.
There you go. Have that for your thumbnail.
Thank you. That's perfect.
Just kidding.
I'm glad that you gave me that advice because I would have literally just put it right in my eye, just the whole kind of brush.
I'm thinking before we end, I'll grab a box, I'll hold the cat and some mascara.
Brilliant. This is going to be the most advertiser-friendly video I've ever made. So thank you very much.
I do think that they should tell you what happened, because I think in some cases there are people that are reporting, you know, your stuff as like, you know, hate against the organization. And I think some of it's a robot that catch one word that's political or high, you know, topic. It's not just YouTube either. A lot of people that create on TikTok, the video platform, they're having their stuff taken down as well with no communication, you know.
Yeah, indeed. No, it's just the lack of transparency and not really knowing where one stands is very infuriating.
But have you noticed an increase in this since you guys got your Gilead graduation stuff? Like you got that strike?
No, it was kind of bubbling away even before that.
Okay.
It's just I think what's really worsened things has been the coronavirus thing. Where they take one stand and then end up doing a U-turn, but they don't apply their new standards retroactively. So the second coronavirus video that I made, where I was dealing with the governing body's response, that was monetized, but they wouldn't then go back to the previous video and say, well, now we're monetizing them, so we'll allow your previous. They don't do that, and which again is just infuriating. But it just all seems to have come to a head really with the coronavirus thing, and quite frankly, you know, it would be a bit like if YouTube had been around during World War II, saying, by the way, you're banned from mentioning that there's a war raging. You know, it's affecting everyone's lives. Of course, we're going to talk about it, you know?
Yeah, and they're based in America where it's supposed to be freedom of speech. You know?
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Oh, it's just so irritating. JTL Graziano says, my husband recently shared some of the super misogynistic comments that were shared from the stage at his 2019 Elders School. Thankfully, he doesn't agree. Well, the very fact that he shared them with you would indicate that he doesn't agree. And I'd be interested to know more about what the situation is with your husband, presumably being Pimo as an elder. But oh yeah, there's so much misogyny, particularly at an elder level. Deborah DeGostin says, I went along with how they treated women. It was all I knew. Spunky Gidget says, the point was Paul was drunk, basically. I think referring to what I was saying earlier about I desired the women to be silent. A lot of what he writes actually gives that impression. I was mentioning Romans 9 about predestination, and that's some messed up stuff, you know. Mind your own business. You don't get to ask God that question. Rianne says, I hated everything about women in the Bible and in talks. Vicki Wells, the fall, childbirth being a punishment, stoning of women. An evangelical friend once asked me why I did not give the Bible more of a chance. No perfect theology could start with such blatant female blaming. Indeed, there's also the verse where it gives it basically tells you about uncleanness following childbirth. So women are unclean just for giving birth, and they're to ritually clean themselves double the amount if it's a girl versus if it's a boy in the Torah. So yeah, God really doesn't like women. Amanda Rich says, my husband's workmates came to our wedding and were absolutely horrified that I was told I had to obey him and be in submission. Yeah, I'd imagine that my experience of, you know, again, I would have been only a teenager, but witnessing that happen where like an outsider is witnessing the misogyny at a wedding, I'd imagine that goes on quite a lot. And yeah, it's not a great advert for the religion when outsiders come in and see that sort of ideology being espoused from the platform. So
I want to give a shout out. So that's Amanda Lloyd, Jason and Amanda that picked you up from the airport.
Oh, I remember. Hi, Amanda.
Yeah. So hi, Amanda.
Lots of locals from your side of the world on the live chat today. Now that we've opened it up to America.
And makeup and cats.
And makeup and cats and unboxing. We've had the trinity of advertiser-friendly content on this show already. Demi Ryan says, if I didn't recite a well-known scripture properly, I was disciplined by a wooden spoon. Good grief. And was told I won't get through to the new system. I was 12. Bet it's calmed down now, though, as it was a form of abuse. Well, it wasn't just a form of abuse. It was abuse if you were being beaten with a wooden spoon just for not being able to recite a scripture. I can only imagine that it's that sort of thing where if you are an overly strict, you could say abusive family, you can find justification if you need to in the organization's literature, even though Demi's experience hopefully won't be familiar to many people. I mean, I certainly wasn't beaten if I couldn't recite scriptures, but that is appalling.
I was, but you know.
Oh, you had a nightmare childhood, didn't you? As has been well documented, yeah.
But I do remember parents locally like making their kids like practice over and over and over and over again to memorize scriptures and learn all of the chapters of the Bible, and then they would kind of put them on display, like, look what my kid can do. But it is a form of abuse when you make your kids sit there for hours reciting that stuff back, to memorize it.
Indeed. No, it's child indoctrination is abuse anyway, but certainly some people take it to extremes. I can well believe that. Let's just see here. Eric Larsen saying Patreon link is on the bottom right of the screen. Thank you, Eric. As is the Facebook and the Twitch address. So let's see here. Yeah, Jenny Smith saying that's really awful. I know how them kind of things stay with you. Oh, definitely. Very traumatizing stuff. And Tony Curto says, thank you for the great work, Lloyd. Side note, as a kid, I learned my first Bible reading in Italian off by heart. Gosh. It wasn't really a thing in our family, Kimmy, knowing scriptures off by heart. Was that a thing in your, well, you said it was a thing.
Yeah. It was encouraged to memorize these scriptures. They often talked about too, like if you were ever imprisoned or something, you could recall them back if you didn't have your Bible with you. But yeah, it was a popular thing to have your kids memorize Bible verses.
We were drilled into remembering the order of the books, and Dad came up with a song, and can I even remember how it went? Yeah, it was for the New Testament books, and it went Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Listen to me, and I'll carry on. Acts, Romans, Corinthians 1 and 2, Galatians and Ephesians are sure to follow through. I can't remember the rest, but it was that sort of thing,
Yeah, there were some songs around here too. So when Mark wasn't feeling well today, but when he pops on, maybe Monday or something, I bet you he was one of those kids that memorized the orders of the books.
Definitely.
We'll have to see if he can still remember them.
It sort of served me well having that song in my head when I was looking up verses, but quite honestly, you get a feel for where the books are anyway after a while, don't you?
My Bible teacher, I don't remember it now. I've purged some of this stuff, but it was a small little rhyme to memorize the orders of like Galatians and Ephesians, and I don't. I have to think if I remember that, but
yeah. Going back to what we were saying earlier, Vicky's back. Kim, for me, it was the constant policing of female attire that even the sisters would keep us fearful that we were enticing the brothers. I can imagine that being incredibly tedious. Being told, your skirt's too immodest, or your cleavage is showing, or something like that.
Yeah, especially, it was bad. I owned probably 200 little camis or tank tops to make sure that I was properly covered up. And they would basically, it was a sister's fault if anything ever happened for dressing a certain way. And you'd always have to like kind of kneel and make sure that your skirts hit the ground. I grew up in a very conservative congregation where our skirts had to kind of be at our ankles. I always had to buy my clothes as a teenager, like 2 sizes too big. It was, it was one of the first things I did when I left was I got rid of like all my matronly dress clothes and got rid of a lot of those like little tank tops and stuff.
Yeah. Gosh, I can still remember mum having problems at a certain convention. She'd bought a dress for the convention, and either people were giving her a hard time or she felt bad about it anyway. But it was kind of the neck was quite low on it, but it was a perfectly normal dress. But I can just remember it causing her a great deal of aggravation, either people talking to her or whatever. It's just ridiculous. Gabrielle wants to know what happened to Arthur. Is he gone to sign autographs? That would be my guess, Gabrielle. He's just vanished, unfortunately. Maybe he'll be back before the show ends. But it did sound, in fairness, as though he might have been at a lady's address. So probably he needed to break off for that. Or probably she was so impressed by his singing that one thing led to another. You never know.
Well, hopefully he returns. I did write a limerick.
Oh, you've written a limerick. Fantastic.
I've written a limerick.
Well, in that case, what are we waiting for? Let's roll the music.
There once was an author named Weber who likes to sing songs all together. His lyrics are great, even when he starts late. Let's hope next time he does better.
Very, very good. I like it. I do like limericks.
Yeah.
And yeah, nice to see that Sasha's poetry corner is being kept alive in his absence with some fine wordplay. So bravo. I'm sure people will have appreciated that. Let us know what you think, viewers, in the comments. 77 watching right now. Yeah, Exec Sesh says, Lloyd, we were imposed to remember the order of Bible books too. Yeah, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. Amanda Rich says, my mother-in-law had scriptures posted all over the walls to force the grandkids to memorize them. Gosh, sounds awful. Demi Ryan says, my mum wanted to be known as having the best spiritual kids. She worried about what people thought. Isabel Vidal says, my stepdad used to burn my library school books because they came from Satan. Surely you got in trouble for that. I mean, presumably if you didn't return the books, you'd have to pay for them. Oh, that is bonkers. Let's just see here. There was a message I wanted to read from JTL Graziano. My husband and I woke up during the month that he was stepping down as an elder in May, June of last year. We are completely out now. So he went to the elders school and probably stepped down not long after. Actually, we are the ones who recently reached out about waking up our 11-year-old son. It's been an eventful and great past year. Thank you for reminding me about that. I have received your voicemail and I will be in touch, because that does sound like an interesting premise for a video. When a couple wakes up, how do they go about deprogramming their child? You know, it's one thing when it's a conversation like you had, Kimmy, with Mark, and he started to wake up and there's all these awkward conversations. But what do you then do if there's a child in the mix? What do you say to them, etc.? So, yeah.
Yeah, we have a local friend. She went through a pretty bad divorce, and she just wanted kind of it over with. So she agreed to some crazy stuff in the divorce settlement where her husband, who's still a witness, ex-husband, they switch every week. But the week that he has the kids, or she has the kids, he can still come over and get her kids to take them to the meetings. But she was just very patient with her kids, and and even in the agreement was like she wouldn't do holidays with her kids and all this other stuff. But it's been like 2 years now, and the kids now kind of have woken up themselves. One is, I think, like 13, and one's maybe 15 or 11 and 13. But it was just kind of like showing them, you know, that they could do stuff in school and encouraging them to kind of think for themselves. And they finally started to realize that they didn't have the same kind of control. I think naturally, you know, an 11-year-old is going to start to kind of wake up on their own if they're not under that constant indoctrination.
Yeah, it's not a natural thing for children to be forced to do, is it? Go to a windowless building twice a week and sit in one place for 2 hours listening to extremely boring material and be told about all of the things that you're not allowed to do. Not natural, really, for children to be chomping at the bit for that sort of thing. So,
yeah, no, I did that on my own.
Yeah, I suppose you did. But having said that, I don't know. I just like to think that there's something innate to children where it's just not natural that they would want to go down that route or that route, depending on which country you're in, without being pushed. And once the parents stop pushing, you like to think that there's going to be a little bit of a of a trajectory towards freedom anyway. But nevertheless, the brainwashing is so potent that there's going to have to be conversations, you know. So I really don't envy these guys, and I'm fascinated to know how they handled things. So we'll hopefully be dealing with that in a future video on the John Cedars channel. A Drill on Twitch says, I'm in a pretty bad mood today because it's slowly getting to me that I'm counting days to when my family will start shunning me for the rest of my life. It sounds like A Drill is perhaps Pimo waiting to go Pomo and realizing that shunning awaits. Well, I hope that at least something in the show today has been uplifting for you. And all I will say is that even though it is extremely stressful to know that your whole life will be recalibrated, once the dust settles, you start rebuilding your social circle, including building your own family. In other words, people who will love you for who you are. The pain of what you're going through now the time will take the edge off it. Time is a healer, would you say, Kimmy?
Definitely. And I would say to reach out to some support groups. I don't know where you're located, but if you're in America, there are a ton of XJW meetup groups. You can search for those and, try and connect with some people that locally. One of the things that we did as well is that when we first left, we reached out to people that had left prior to us. A lot of, like some of the people that joined today, there was a lot of people that leave and you forget that they're, hey, I've got this one and this one and this one I grew up with. So this trying to make social connections before that shunning starts, because otherwise it is really difficult to go through alone.
Indeed. So, like Kimmy says, try and find some support groups, A-Drill. There's Recovery from Religion. They're doing a lot of good work. I think they do as well workshops, and you can actually go to retreats and that sort of thing with fellow apostates. So there are resources out there, and hopefully you can just already begin that process of transitioning to a new social circle of people who can appreciate you for who you are. Alyssa RN says the modesty culture was ridiculous. I would get counseled for wearing turtlenecks because I was well endowed at a young age. So if my clothes weren't 4 sizes too big and hanging off my body, I was counseled. I can imagine that would have been infuriating, being chastised for the shape of your body, basically. Vicki Wells says, I do thoroughly approve of modesty, but this concept is culturally specific. When I worked in Nigeria, mountain tribe ladies happily bare their breasts, but it is shocking to show thighs. Yeah, it is, I guess, mostly a cultural thing, although it must be said that culture is largely influenced, isn't it, by religion. And certainly in America, parts of America, it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but fundamental Christianity in general that enforces itself on women. Reaction now to your limerick. Perfect, Kim, says Donna Fletcher. Frank Rizzo says, bravo. Lancer Choate says, that was great. Brandon says, nice job, Kimmy. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Brandon.
Gabrielle has awarded you 8.4 points. I'm very specific, if I may say, Gabrielle. The 0.4. I'm liking your specificity in awarding that.
I'll have to do better next time.
Yeah, try and aim for the 0.5 next time, if you don't mind, Kimmy. Frank Rizzo saying, well done, Kimmy. Eric Larsen saying, Kimmy, that was fantastic. And Arliss Scott, hello from Quadra Island. Hello, Arliss. Raheem Kane says, I know the governing body and legal department is watching this. Gosh, well, I'm sure that there are more prescient videos for them to be monitoring. This is probably lower down in their priorities, but you never know.
They heard I was on. Hi, everyone.
Indeed.
Hi, Brother Morris.
Polidoro and co are tuning in, probably. Kelly Drummond says, oh, yay, I finally made a live stream. Hello, Kelly, in Scotland, I believe. Isabel Vidal says, yes, my mum had to buy new books to replace them. Gosh, that is astonishing. So your mum having to make up for the kind of narcissistic book burning of your father by the sounds of things. Let's just see here. Nilda Gomez says, I can definitely say a story about deprogramming my kids. It was almost too late, but now they are both atheists, even if I'm not. Well, at least you, it's good that you were able to deprogram them and get them out of that situation. And frankly, it's then they're then in a position where they can decide for themselves what they want to believe, whether they want to be unbelievers or whether they want to be believers. They have that freedom because they're no longer in a cult. Jenny Smith says, we used to be told that demons could be brought home buying things from charity shops. Oh, I think everyone was told that, weren't they, Kimmy?
Oh, absolutely. I had a lot of stuff thrown away. We didn't have a lot of money. So, if I had to get something from a thrift store as a kid, or someone gave me something, and anytime we had demon activity in the house, my mom would go through and then throw out everything that was a hand-me-down or came from a charity shop. And it wasn't just my mom who had mental illness. There was so many sisters in the congregation that encouraged that kind of thinking. Like, oh, you can't buy anything from a thrift store. The demons attach themselves to it.
My grandmother, so my dad's mum, who actually was the first person in my family who became a witness in 1953, she ended up having to move closer to where we were living because her husband died, and so she had basically the family home was empty apart from her, and her health wasn't that great, so she had to sell her house and move closer to us. And she was absolutely convinced that all of the furniture and decorations and ornaments and everything was demon possessed. So she actually burnt everything. We had to take her to shop for new furniture because she insisted on burning every last scrap of furniture. So it's astonishing what that kind of thinking does.
And then Mark told me a story once of a pioneer couple, an elder and his wife, when kind of TV was a bad thing. So they took their television out to the woods or something and they stoned it.
Yeah, amazing. Incredible. Yeah. Eric Larsen says, wife still in, we have 3 kids, just trying to be, that is a difficult situation when one parent is still inside and you desperately don't want it to become a multi-generational thing. Just trying to be a good role model and show my kids that there's happiness outside of the organization. I think that's the best thing you can do, Eric. My oldest is 9 and she's already loving science. Fantastic. Sounds like she's on the right track there. Joanna Rowland says, was anyone ever told not to listen to certain music because the band levitated and they were demonic? Well, certainly plenty of music was out of bounds for me. I was told that about Pink Floyd. One day I had my dad in the car and Floyd was playing. I had to reread that to make sure it didn't say Lloyd was playing. And he said, who is this? I said, oh, Pink Floyd, Dad. He said, wow, they are so good, LOL. Yeah, it's lots of control in that area as well in terms of music. Eric Larson says, the hardest part is I'm at work most days and my wife takes that opportunity to show jw.org stuff to the kids. I really don't envy your situation there, Eric, but again, it sounds like you're on the right track of just basically dismantling the apostate stereotype any way you can and just showing positivity and a respect for science, and hopefully the pieces will just all fall together. But I certainly don't envy the situation because I would be mortified if I knew how bad the organization was and I could see my children. We've had 1 or 2 brushes with my in-laws. I won't go into too much detail, but it sends the hairs on the back of my neck rising just to think about it. So gosh, don't get me started. Brandon Fiquette, friend of the show, former panelist, hopefully will be joining us on future episodes of the Lockdown live stream, says, does anyone else remember the stir around E.T. the extraterrestrial? I was very upset as a kid when some spread that it was somehow demonic and a bunch of witnesses got together and burned their VHS copies, but then it was okay to buy it years later. Yeah. Not, I think that sounds like a fairly localized thing. I certainly wasn't dissuaded from watching it, although I was dissuaded from watching Ghostbusters.
Yep.
And I recently tried watching the first Ghostbusters for the first time, and how shall I put it? It hasn't aged well. I can imagine if I'd watched it as a kid, thoroughly being able to enjoy it now because of the nostalgia. But if you just come into it completely fresh and you're watching something that was shot in the 1980s, and it wasn't enjoyable. I only made it a bit of the way through. But again, I can imagine if it hadn't been deprived me as a child, it would have been a completely different experience, you know?
And one of the local ones here, more recent, was Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
Where it was not okay, and then it was okay, and then not okay, and okay. And we had a local elder that would like buy all of the discs and then like throw them out, and then buy them again, and then throw them out. But yeah, I read the books as a teenager without like letting anyone know. That was one of my big things that I did that was wrong. Is
Such
I
a
read the
rebel.
Lord of the Rings.
Such a rebel, Kimmy.
Yep.
It was kind of on the line where I was, Lord of the Rings. So you would occasionally hear it referenced by the odd elder giving like a talk from the Book of Opinions sort of thing. But there were so many people who were watching it, who were witnesses, that it sort of got nudged into the green area. It was okay. So I watched Lord of the Rings, but I still haven't seen any Harry Potter.
I was about to say that. I haven't either. So my friend Amanda and I'm gonna, when the lockdown is over, I'm gonna go over their home and watch. We're gonna do the Harry Potter, because we were gonna do that like when Mark went to London, but since he didn't go, and then we turned into can't go out. Maryland's under a stay-at-home order, like 2/3 of the country, so. But of course, we could do it virtually.
Sure, I'm sure that there's going to be a Harry Potter marathon at some point, surely.
Yeah, I heard Andrew Lloyd Webber is showing. I got to go find the link, but I heard he is showing all of his his musicals online now for free, letting people see those. So
yeah, I like people stepping up in that way and just realizing that people need some distraction at this time and some comfort. And yeah, I like the fact that people are doing that. And
some bands are putting on free concerts. I think Metallica is doing Monday night concerts or something like that. So yeah, it's great to see. Some celebrities are donating a lot of money. I just read that Pink was diagnosed with coronavirus, the singer.
Okay.
And so she's just donated I don't know if it was $1 million or $10 million or something like that. So it's nice. It's nice to see people stepping up.
Yeah, a lot of there's been a lot of heat on Premier League footballers in the UK because they obviously earn a lot of money, and it should have been that the football season was still in process. So they're basically receiving a wage for playing football, and they can't play. And they seem to have. It seems that they're going in the direction of giving 30% to the NHS of their pay. So,
yeah, I think our baseball season was pushed back, the start date. I imagine we're going to hear more soon. That I really seriously doubt we're going to have, baseball. The Olympics was pushed back a year. And now officially yesterday, the CDC has recommended everyone wear, cloth masks when they go out in public, not really to protect yourself, but to protect others in case you are asymptomatic. So that's what I spent my morning on. I finally located some masks because I have my disabled father. I have to care for him, even if I get sick. And as well as Mark has to take care of his mother-in-law. His mom. So it's just been difficult. People hoarding stuff that they don't need. Yeah. So, but hopefully everyone is staying safe, and that's the most important thing. Looking out for each other and for community at this time.
Absolutely. And I think that's largely what's happening. Hopefully the lockdown live stream is one way of bringing people together and giving people a bit of distraction. And I'm glad that we have concluded. We've brought it to the 90-minute mark with some topical information on the coronavirus. So thank you for that unintentionally, Kimmy. And thank you also for making this video advertiser friendly by showing your cat. And
next time I'm going to I'll bring 2 cats.
And teaching us how to apply mascara.
Yeah, I'll bring some eyeshadow next time. We'll really do it up.
No, that was absolutely fantastic. And lots of love for you in the comments as well. And lovely to see, lovely to hear from people who know Kimmy for real because they're in Kimmy's neck of the woods. So I hope you have all enjoyed today's lockdown live stream. Thank you so much, Kimmy, for joining me and helping me through the 90 minutes, making it fly by. Perfect. We just need to find out where Arthur has disappeared to. I would suspect it's something to do with the fact that he was in the presence of a lady, but we'll find out next time he's on the show.
Yeah, I want to see what he thinks of my limerick. So
indeed. So viewers, I hope you have enjoyed today's lockdown live stream. Do tune in for the next one. The schedule will be in the video description, but that's all we have for you. Do take care, stay safe, stay positive, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.